The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Phoenix, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34711. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 tow hooks on the passenger and driver side frame rail. You'll also find downward-facing perimeter lighting. Moving on the angle of the bumper extension, you'll find emergency warning lights. Moving just inside that location on the passenger side, you'll find 2 paddle latches will gain access to the front inlet. Also inside that location, you'll find 2 speakers for your electronic siren and PA speaker system. You'll also find dual air horns in the driver's area. Let's move up onto the bumper extension where you'll find a D handle which gains access to the front bumper load. On the outer edge of the body, you'll find a marker and turn indicator light. Just inside of that location, you'll find the headlight structure housing a low and high beam headlight. The high beam is on the inside. Just up from the headlights, you'll find a forward-facing emergency warning light. Just behind the Pierce logo is the latch for the hood. Moving up onto the windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. Moving to the outer edges, you'll find a flat and convex mirror. Moving up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 clearance lights. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. As we move up onto the roof of the apparatus, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located inside the light bar in the center, you'll find your Opticom. And then just above the emergency warning light bar, you'll find GO lights, which are your spot floodlights controlled from within inside the cab. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. First, directly behind the Pierce logo is the latch which will release to gain access under the hood. This is your front bumper access on the bumper extension. As we look inside the front bumper, you'll find an 1.5-inch swivel discharge. Let's take a look at the outer edge. This is the drop down and also a lift up portion of the bumper extension which houses the large diameter intake. Inside, under the hood, you'll find your coolant reservoir. You'll also find instructions to raise the cab and also lower the cab. The yellow with the black knob on the end will be the push button for the raise or lower activation. The selector switch for raise or lower is the red switch. Moving just behind the push button switch, you'll find an additional push button that's mounted on the firewall. This is your electronic door lock hidden location. To the right, you'll find the power steering Dextron 3 fill location. As we move to the side of the apparatus, you'll have upper and lower warning zone lights. You'll also find on the cab a side-facing scene light. Moving to the rear, you'll also find a side-facing scene light. Let's take a look at the cab. First, there are 2 grab handles located at points of entry. You'll also find door latches which allow you to use a glove hand to gain access inside the cab. As we move to the pump panel, we'll start in the upper corner. We'll identify a few key items. First, vacuum gauge and also pressure gauge. We'll also move down and find all of your discharges. We'll identify your pressure throttle governor. We'll also identify a few modules within your pump panel, starting with the foam system. And we'll also find all of your crosslays, which will be located at the top. Let's go ahead and start with the upper portion, which is the crosslays. First, starting with the number 1 and number 2 crosslay. Those are 1.5-inch discharges. Moving to the right, you'll find a 2.5-inch crosslay. All 3 of these are foam capable. As we move to the right, we do have a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard. Because of those hoses coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. Let's start with our master gauges. First on the left is your pump intake. This is the master gauge.
Moving to the right, you'll find your pump discharge, which will also be a master gauge. In between the two of those, you'll find the vacuum and pressure test gauge port. This is for testing purposes. Let's move downward onto the pump panel. We'll find two indicators. First, pump engaged and OK to pump indicators for pump operations. As we move down, you'll find the reel rewind, a spare location, also driver's side scene lights, passenger side scene lights, and rear scene lights. Moving just to the right, you'll find your reel discharge. This is the reel located in the dunnage area. And then as we move downward, you'll find the number 1, number 2, and the 2.5-inch cross leg color-coded and labeled. Let's move up to the upper left-hand corner where you'll find your deluge discharge. You do have an open and close electronic valve and also a pressure gauge. To the right, you'll find the primer for your front intake with instructions below for 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Let's move to the right where you'll find the open and close valve. This is the switch allows you to open and close the front intake. Moving just to the right, you'll find your thermal relief valve. This is an automatic valve which allows the relief of hot water inside the pump area. There is a push to test and also an audible alarm at the upper portion. Moving to the right, you'll find your driver's side 2.5 pre-connect, and also moving further to the right, you'll find the passenger side 2.5 pre-connect, which is foam capable. We do have a warning label here regarding fall hazard. When climbing on the side of the vehicle, use caution. Let's move downward and slightly to the left on the pump panel where you'll find the number 2 passenger side discharge. It is water and foam capable. There is a wheel valve for open and close. On the right, you'll find the number 4 passenger side discharge and also a wheel valve for open and close. If illuminating, it would be yellow in color. It is a check engine light. Moving to the right, you'll find the digital readout for the RPM. And then moving further to the right, you'll find if illuminated, it would be red in color. It is a stop engine. As we move downward on your pressure throttle governor, you'll find diagnostic engine information in the lower section and also a pump temperature on the right. Moving further down in the blue module, you'll find your water tank level indicator. We do have a red silence button which allows you to silence any audible alarms that may be present with the pressure throttle governor. Moving downward, we have an orange menu button allowing you to scroll through the various menu functions of your device. Moving further down, you'll find the pressure control module if illuminated. That's the mode that you're in. Moving to the right, if illuminated, would be the RPM control mode. In between the two of those, you'll find a digital readout, and to gain access between the two of those modes, you push the blue button, which is the control mode, allowing you to switch through either pressure or throttle position. Located in the center, you'll find a green indicator indicating throttle ready, and as we move to the right, you'll find a green preset allowing you to use and preset any presets for pump pressure or also throttle position. As we move downward, we'll find right to increase throttle, left to decrease, and push in the center for idle position. Let's move upward on the pump panel where we'll find the green module. This is going to be your foam A tank. This is an indicator for the amount of foam in the tank. As we move downward from this location, you'll find your Husky foam system. It is the red module. There are operating instructions for its use. The green button is the system on and off button. As we move downward, you'll find a digital readout for the foam percentage. Moving further down to the two gray buttons, it is either increase or decrease. And then moving to the right, you'll find a orange color button. That is going to be the prime button. Also within that instructions, you'll find the system status light. The indication for that blinking light will also be displayed in the operating instructions. Moving up to the very top right-hand side of the image, you'll find an engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. Let's move down from this location where you'll find the fire pump primer. It is a push to prime air prime. There are instructions just beneath for best practices, at least 1,000 RPMs for operation. Let's move to the next section of the pump panel where you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. And as we move downward, we'll find the tank to pump. Moving further down, let's first talk about these two items. This is the minimum operation maintenance schedule and placker for testing. We'll go over those in just a few minutes. I'd also like to point out that this warning label, only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and only after they received proper training. Your Husky 3 foam system does have instructions and also a specification placard. down to the right-hand side, you'll find the main pump drain, and then as we look to the right, you'll find a visual indicator for your water tank level. Let's move all the way down to the very bottom where you'll find your air supply and air inlet outlet. These are a twist, not a pull. To the right, you'll find your manual pump shift. There is a caution label above that, and then also all of your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's go back to the minimum operation maintenance schedule. In the center, you'll find test pressures for 150, 200, and 250 psi. On the left-hand side is the associated GPM at test pressure, and on the right-hand side, it's the RPMs associated with that test pressure. On the left, you'll find the job number, and at the bottom, you'll find the govern speed, 2,400 RPMs. As we move to the right, you'll also find your Watrous placard indicating the type of pump you have, and then to the right, you'll find your push to talk for your intercom system and plug-in location. As we move further down, you'll find a warning label here regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam. Moving further down, you'll find the draft foam tank lever and also inlet. To the right, just behind this pan door, this is the instructions for how to operate the valve directly behind for foam operations. This is your Watrous placard. As you can see, you have a capacity of 1,500 GPM. Moving just down to the right, this is that yellow handle that I referred to on the instructions on the pan door. Moving just down underneath the pump panel, you'll find your foam pump intake drain and also the foam pump discharge drain. Let's now take a look now to the body of your vehicle or on the driver's side. Let's first down at the bottom in front of and rear of the axle is your folding wheel chock storage location. You'll also find underneath all of your perimeter lighting. Let's move up from this location to the pan door located just in front of the rear axle. This is where you'll find SCBA bottle storage. The light directly over the axle is an emergency warning light side facing. And then to the very rear, you'll find your fill locations for diesel and DEF. As we move to the very first compartment, I would like to point out there are two shelves and also a split divider which has a pull-out tool board. In the upper left-hand vertical side, the front section of this compartment is where you'll find your S1 breaker panel. S1 stands for shore power. When plugged into shore power, that will be active. These are the SCBA bottle storage locations. There are two in the front, and then also the storage, fuel locations, silver, ultra low sulfur, diesel cap. As we remove the lever downward, you'll find it exposes the 8-gallon DEF tank, which is a blue cap. Moving to the last rear compartment on the driver's side, you'll find LED lighting and adjustable shelving. Let's move to the rear of the apparatus. We'll start at the top with the brake light, turn indicator, reverse light, and an emergency warning light. Moving upward from this location, you'll find an emergency warning light and rear-facing scene lights. There are two D-handled compartments located in the rear, one for ladder storage, one for backboard and tool storage. We'll cover those in a moment. There are also 3 steps on the right side and also 3 steps on the left side for gaining access aloft. Located in the very center, you'll find your third brake light. Just up from that brake light, you'll find your backup camera. Let's take a look with those compartments in the open position. First, starting on the left, you'll find backboard storage location and also long tool handled storage. And on the right-hand side, you'll find a 24-foot extension ladder and a 14-foot roof ladder and 10-foot attic. Let's take a look at some other items here. First, starting on the left-hand side, this is the backboard storage for 2 backboards. At the very top section, you can see long tool storage. As we move to the left, you'll find a hazard warning and also entanglement hazard because of those hoses coming from aloft. This is going to be your ladder storage location. As we move to the left, you'll find your hose bed lights. It is a momentary switch. Moving to the very top, you'll find hatch compartments on the passenger side and also on the driver's side. Located directly in the center, your hose bed, you can see there are 2 movable dividers. As we move to the hatch compartments, you'll find LED lighting inside those compartments. As we move now to the passenger side hatch compartment is where you'll find your battery charging system. When plugged into shore power, that will be active. And then also your compressor, when plugged into shore power, this will maintain your brake pressure. As we move to the opposite side, you'll find LED lighting in both of those hatch compartments, and they are through compartment. Let's move now to the dunnage area. First, we'll start with the top fill location for your water tank. And then as we move just to the right in the image, you'll find the foam tank fill for tank A. We do have a warning label on this because there is the possibility of foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam. As we move further toward the front of the cab in the dunnage, you'll find on the left in this image is where your booster line or red line is located. There is a manual rewind located at the side of the reel, and also a electronic valve for turning on and off your MasterStream device. You do have an Extend-A-Gun allowing you to extend the MasterStream device above the side sheet. Let's move to the right of this location where you'll find your Husky foam system next to the MasterStream device. There is a fill location located in the upper right corner is where the arrow is indicating. Got a little bit better close-up of this area. This is the foam hydraulic oil reservoir. Let's move to the cab now. We do have some warning labels here regarding a non-walking surface. This area is slippery. And you'll also find as we move to the right and left side, indicating here in the sticker that the surface is not to be intended for stepping on. Let's move now to the passenger side of the vehicle. We'll first start at the rear section, and we'll start with the compartment in the open position. As we look in this compartment, you'll find adjustable shelving. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll find a 12-volt access block. This is for 12-volt DC. Let's move forward to this location where we'll find first a compartment above the rear axle, SCBA bottle storage for 3 bottles, and also a side fill location on the passenger side for your ultra low sulfur diesel fill, which is the silver cap. As we move to the forward compartment on the passenger side body, you'll find in the upper right-hand corner an additional 12-volt access block. Let's move down to the pump panel on the passenger side. First, in the upper left-hand corner, we do have a warning label here regarding extremely hot exhaust temperatures. You'll also find a passenger side auxiliary inlet, which is a wheel valve in the upper right. As we move to the center, you'll find your large diameter pump intake. And then moving all the way to the right, you'll find at the very top a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when removing them. Also, you'll find two 2.5-inch discharges, color-coded and labeled. As we move downward from this location, you'll find your garden hose outlet. And then as we move all the way down to the very bottom, you'll find color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Moving all the way down to the very far right in the image is where you'll find your direct tank fill. This is a 2.5-inch inlet. Let's go back to the warning labels here. We do have a warning label regarding fall hazard. Be cautious when climbing on the side of the vehicle. You also have a warning label here regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust. The outer edge of that shield may be hot. As we move to the upper right, you'll find your crosslays containing the 2.5-inch crosslay and then the number 1 and number 2 crosslay. All of those are foam capable. As we move to the pan door, you'll find your intake relief valve. There are instructions on the label itself. And here's some close-ups. First, the passenger side auxiliary inlet with a wheel valve. As we move downward from that location, you'll find the 2.5-inch discharges. And then moving further down, you'll find that garden hose outlet and then also the direct tank fill. Let's move to the cab now. We'll identify a few items under the rear step area. First, let's start under the passenger side rear step where you'll find your manifold drain. It is a twist. As we move just forward to this location, you'll find the relief valve for your front inlet. And then as we move forward to that location, you'll find the inlet drain. Let's go ahead and move around now to the driver's side. We'll go and identify a few items in this area. Let's start at the step area. This is the Shoreline inlet. It is a 30 amp plug. We do have a battery charge operating indicator light. When red, it's indicating the battery charger is operational. As we move to the door panel, you'll find all of your safety information. You'll also find this placard located just inside. It has the date of manufacture, gross vehicle weight rating, 5-digit job number, VIN number, fluid capacities for all of the components, and fluid types. Let's move to the floorboard now, where you'll find 2 foot pedals. First on the left is your air horn, and then also mechanical siren. Just to the right, the brake treadle and accelerator. Moving upward, you'll find the tech module. These are for your maintenance team. Also, you'll find your engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port on the left, and on the right, you'll find a display port. Moving downward from this location, you'll find your ABS diagnostic switch. To the right, you'll find an engine diagnostic switch. At the very bottom, on the left-hand side, you'll find a regen inhibit switch, and then also a DPF regen switch. Moving upward from this location, at the left knee of the operator is where you'll find the master battery switch. Let's go ahead and go now to the steering console and dash panel. First, starting on the left-hand side, you'll find your hazard lights. Moving downward, you'll find your start and ignition switch. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. It activates and deactivates all of your emergency warning lights. To the right, your headlights, and then also a panel switch allowing you to brighten or dim the lights within preview of the operator. Let's move all the way to the opposite side of the steering column, where you'll find your OK to engage the high idle and the OK to engage high idle indicator. Moving to the dash, you'll find your transmission temperature, oil temperature, DEF level, and water temp. To the right-hand side, you'll find your rear air, front air, fuel level, and volts. Moving directly in the center, you'll find a tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information displays above and also below the speedometer. Let's move just to the right of the steering column, where you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. It's currently not pictured. It is the yellow diamond. Moving to the right, you'll find your Pierce command zone. Moving further to the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad with an indication to pump in neutral. Once again, a tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips. This is the Pierce command zone. Please see your owner's manual for more information. Moving further to the right, you'll find the engine brake on-off, a setting switch for low or high, some future switch locations, push to talk for your radio, and also the mirror heat. Moving further to the right, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions here from road to pump, and then also from pump to road. When exiting the cab, you will need both pump engaged and OK to pump green indicators. Also, caution, disengage the retarder when your vehicle is on wet or slippery surfaces. Moving to the right and just above that pump shift is where you'll find your Go Light control module, and then also your mirror controls for the flat and convex mirror. Moving to the center console area, you'll find your climate control and heating and air conditioning. You'll also find the mobile awareness indicator pointed directly at the driver's vision. Moving overhead of the operator, you'll find this yellow placard. This is the indication of your height, 10 feet 1.81 inches, the length 32 feet 5 inches, a gross vehicle weight rating 44,800 pounds. If you make any adjustments to your vehicle, please update this placard. Let's move just to the right. We have a set of switch banks. First, starting on the left with the Emergency Master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, siren brake, and electronic siren. When you engage any of these switches, the outer bezel of that switch will illuminate. Here's an example of it illuminating for the load manager. Up on the left, we'll start with the front flood, cab rear scene, driver side scene, and passenger side scene. In the lower section, rear scene, along with some future switch locations. Moving further to the right in the same plane is where you'll find your PA speaker system and also electronic siren. Directly in the center of the cab is where you'll find do not move your apparatus when this light is flashing. This is indicating you have a compartment or door in the open position. Let's move now to the rear section of the cab, where you'll find seating for 4 positions. First, affixed to the door panel is all the warning and safety information. Overhead, you'll find push on and off white or red lenses. As we move forward to this location, you'll find your headset plug-in locations. You'll also find a filter system for your unit air conditioner. Also, you'll find an additional air conditioner when plugged into shore power. The white air conditioner cover will activate. Let's move now from this location to the rear of the engine. This is where you'll find a rear access panel for all of your daily checks for the oil and transmission of your vehicle. Let's take a look at the rear wall, where you'll find 2 seats located in the very rear. You'll also find directly overhead on the rear wall the access for the intercom system. On the right and left side, you'll find additional lighting switches. Let's go ahead and move now to the officer space, where you'll find affixed to the door panel all of our safety and warning information on the door panel. As we move just inside the cab, you'll find the letters SRS, which means Supplemental Restraint System. Your vehicle is equipped with a front airbag. You'll also find a warning label here. Be cautious, do not mount any equipment within this area. As we move to the left, you'll find your electronic siren push button. Just down from that, an air horn push button. You also have a radio push to talk for your unit radio. And then just in front of that, you'll find a barrel style 12-volt access point. Let's move just inside of this location, where we have two items I'd like to talk about. First, let's start with the 12-volt access USB style. You'll also find these candy cane labels throughout the vehicle, indicating that you have wires behind the panel. You'll also find just in front of that your vehicle data recording port. Overhead, you have push on and off white or red lenses. As we move to the space over the officer's head, you'll find your AM/FM radio and weather band. You'll also find a digital readout for your speedometer and also the control module for your Go light, which is a spotlight over the light bar. You do have a switch panel housing the front flood, cab rear scene, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, and rear scene. Once again, when any of these switches have been activated, the light will illuminate behind the switch panel. Congratulations, Phoenix, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34711. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you.